Hello, I'm Jimmy Kelly, and I'm going to talk to you today about how to butcher a cow. This is my audience. Okay, butchering a cow started back from the beginning of time, and it was basically for a farmer who took his animals and cut it up and got some meat to feed his family and provide for them. But butchering is something that anyone can do. It is pretty easy if you have the land and animals and all the time, and it involves raising the cows the right way and then cutting them up in an efficient manner. It's a different way instead of going to the store and buying hamburger. Raising cows is just like any other animal. It's a lot of work, and you have to make sure to take care of them. You have to feed them properly. We feed our cows with hay, corn, and obviously water. During the summertime, we allow them to graze out in our fields, and we don't have to feed them as much, but during the wintertime comes around, we have to feed them in the morning and at night around 6 o'clock. When it comes around to butchering, we take the cows away that we're going to butcher 2 months ahead of time and separate them into a specific pen. And we feed these cows extra to obviously fatten them up and to make sure they get extra meat, so when we actually kill them, that they will be fat enough to provide enough hamburger for our family. And once you have correctly raised them and separated them, it comes to the process where you actually have to kill the cow. And some people might not like to hear this, so put it on mute or something. But the process of butchering takes time. First, you have to get the cows ready, and by this I mean we take them and we put them in a chute. That we have 4 cows normally, and we put them in a chute that we built in our barn. And we next run 1 cow through and put it in a head gate. And then we take the cow, once it calms down a little bit, and we shoot it in the head with a .22. It might sound bad, but it kills them. And then we take a knife and slit its throat. Yes, that might seem vulgar, but it's the way things are done. We then take the cow and take it back to the barn and hang it up. And once it is hung up, we start to clean it off. And by cleaning it off, I mean cutting the skin off of it and peeling the skin off and taking all the guts and everything out of the cow that doesn't need to be there anymore. We do save some things though, like the heart, the tongue, and the liver. And once we clean the cow off completely, we cut it into 4 sections and take it into our walk-in freezer. And once we take it into the walk-in freezer, we hang it up there and let it sit for about a week. And once it sits in there for a week, it dries up all the blood and makes it easier to cut up once the week comes around. And once that comes around, we have about 10 to 15 people of my family who comes up and decides to help out and butcher this cow. Now, we have someone in our family who knows a little bit about butchering, but there's also a sheet that we look off of when he's not there to cut the cow up properly and to get ribs out of it and hamburger and steak and everything that you would want out of a cow. And we cut off all the fat and get rid of all the bones to make sure that none of that's in the hamburger, but sometimes you leave some fat. Greasy hamburger always tastes better. And then after we grind up the meat and everything, we decide to package it up and label it, like I have here, ground beef, and it is ready to give out to our family. And we put it in a freezer, and it's good all year round. We feed about 5 different families through 4 cows, and it lasts the whole year for everyone. Butchering is a completely different process that we use than in a factory, where it is a lot more humane the way we do it, rather than in factories where they go through and you might get a few bones and things that you shouldn't have in your hamburger. But when we do it here on the farm, tastes a lot better, and I would know by experience because right after we grind up the meat, we fry it up right away before we put it in the freezer to make sure it tastes good. And that's always the best hamburger of the year because it's so fresh. Butchering is something that takes a lot of time and a lot of hard work, but it definitely pays off for our family, feeding them for a year. And I hope listening to my speech that you learned a little bit more about butchering, and that maybe if one day you lived on a farm, you would want to butcher your own cows yourself.